Aviva Lubowsky, Director of Marketing and Development with the Hebrew Free Loan Association. Sydney Goodman-Leib, Executive Director of the Jewish Assistance Fund. Thank you both for joining me this morning. Aviva, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you. We are working hard trying to meet a very significant and urgent need, so that can feel overwhelming, but we're doing it.
It is certainly an unusual and crazy and upsetting time. Aviva, would you share a little bit more about the work that you are doing and the Jewish values behind it to get our conversation started?
Sure. So I work at Hebrew Free Loan, and Hebrew Free Loan is a member agency of J-Funds. And J-Funds is a collaborative between 5 organizations in the Jewish community that give money in some way, shape, or form. So in addition to Hebrew Free Loan, that's the Jewish Assistance Fund, the Jewish Federation Scholarship Program, through the JFCS Squirrel Hill Food Pantry, that's SOS Pittsburgh, and it is also the Jewish Scholarship Service, which is a partnership of JFCS and the Federation that is related to college scholarships. So in particular, Hebrew Free Loan, Jewish Assistance Fund, and the JFCS organization as a whole, and Squirrel Hill Food Pantry in particular, are busy responding to people who've had some kind of income disruption from COVID, the pandemic situation we're in. And, this is holy work for sure. All of our organizations are rooted in not only Jewish values, but also some, Jewish practices. So we've been lucky enough as a staff to do some text studies with rabbis, and it's remarkable how the Talmud, in fact, sets up some of the rules and operations of how these giving societies are supposed to work. And many of those are still in practice today. So I can tell you that in terms of a free loan society, the free loans had roots in Eastern Europe, where there were a lot of small villages, shtetls, and they did not have independent, they didn't have government assistance at that time. So in each community, from what I understand, there was a bank, and then there was a free loan society. The free loan society was often called the Gemilut Chasadim, which is where, if you've ever heard the term gemach, it's taking Gemilut, the Gimel and the Mem, the G and the M, and the Chet, the Chasadim, which is, again, a receptacle of some goods. There can be clothing gemachs, there can be food gemachs. In this case, it's a money gemach, where people donate and then take for free as they need. So Hebrew Free Loan has been operating based on the same principles that the immigrants who came here from Eastern Europe founded it on in the late 1800s. And there are many, many, many sources in our Jewish text and tradition that talk about not only Jews' responsibility to one another in terms of helping each other be whole, including financially, but also in terms of the different ways that we give to each other. And the most common, I would say, is Maimonides' ladder of giving, where there are many ways to give and pros and cons to the different models.
Thank you. And Cindy, how are you today?
Hey, I'm glad the sun is shining and there's beautiful flowering trees.
A welcome break, isn't
encouraging. Nature is assuring us that the sun rises again the next day.
Amen. Can you say a little bit about the Jewish Assistance Fund and what you are up to?
So the Jewish Assistance Fund has been, as an organization, as a local nonprofit in the Pittsburgh community, has been around since 1985. And like Hebrew Free Loan, we are part of a beautiful Jewish tradition of neighbors helping neighbors, of the community caring for each other. And in times of need, in times of crisis and throughout the year, the Jewish Assistance Fund has been able to provide people with grants for immediate and pressing expenses. And those would be around housing, medical, dental, transportation. I often say when life happens, Jewish Assistance Fund is one of the organizations that can help people out, can provide assistance. And one of the things that I think has been really helpful and humbling at this moment is that there's this real awareness that, life does happen, and throughout time, that we are carrying out an ancient and timely practice of caring for each other. Today it might be you, tomorrow it might be me, but we're all here for each other. And it really brings to light the strength of the Jewish community as people are experiencing such upheaval financially and medically, and it's really been the pandemic has really, there's probably nothing that the pandemic has not touched, and so the Jewish Assistance Fund, in carrying out our mission, we've been able to provide assistance as people are being impacted by the financial impact of the pandemic of COVID-19.
And I guess that's my next question for both of you. The world has seemingly turned upside down in remarkably short order, right? If you look at a graph of the unemployment rates, it's like nothing we've ever seen before in this country, and I suspect around the world. I'm curious what you are seeing on the ground, what your experience as people are coming to you in their time of need. Aviva, what has changed? What are you seeing now?
So we typically get, on average at Hebrew Free Loan, about 8 applications a week. And from mid-March to mid-April, we received 20 applications a day. So we've received more than 300 applications. So much so, actually, that we've nearly exhausted our resources, and we had to take our application off our website temporarily until we, fundraise, essentially, to fund more loans. So we typically would have 4 loan appointments every Tuesday night, and we have been, in the last 6 weeks, we've had 12 appointments every Tuesday night. And we have deployed about $200,000 at this point in interest-free loans to the community. We are non-sectarian, so we lend to people regardless of their religion, and we do have quite a diverse set of borrowers from more than 40 zip codes. So we're reaching a lot of people, but nowhere near the number that we could potentially reach, or that where the need is. So it's a bottomless pit of need, and I'm really proud to have been able to do this work and to turn our operations around within 7 days' time to being, in some ways, a little bit old school in terms of some of the ways that we operated, to fully virtual and having documents, legal documents signed digitally, and all kinds of small details, but we're seeing about a 10-fold increase in the need and doing our best to meet it.
It's incredible work that you're doing. One of the things we've been talking about in the synagogue, and I think it's true for all nonprofits and Jewish nonprofits in particular, we've done about 10 years worth of transformation in a little under 10 days to really be able to meet this new demand. Cindy, are you seeing the same uptick in numbers and in need right now, stretching the capacity of the organization?
So we have the opportunity to keep increasing the community's awareness, and that's one of the things we're trying to do through J funds, that there are funds available, because many people have not been in a position where they needed to access assistance. And so we are seeing an increase in people who, a big focus are people who have income loss because of COVID-19. And so we're seeing people who have small businesses that they needed that weren't essential and they needed to close. People who work in the service industry that are contacting us. A lot of people have extra family members in their home at the moment, and there are moratorium on utility shut off. People are finding that their bills are going to be increasing, and they are just trying to sort through the various benefits that they're able to access. So we are seeing an increase in people for whom this is the first time that they are contacting Jewish Assistance Fund. And we are also really working toward getting the word out about how, the assistance that is available in the short and the long term.
You've shared a little bit about who your organizations are able to help and what type of help you're able to provide. Would you both say a little bit more about how someone could access that help? Cindy, how would somebody find you? What's the process involved?
Okay, so people would reach out to the Jewish Assistance Fund through our phone number and as well as our website, and they send us a message, and then we one of our staff people will calls everybody back and speaks with everybody. We used to have, and we will go back to having an in-person process of having some of our volunteers meet with people weekly and be that chance to provide a human connection. Hebrew Free Loan and the Jewish Assistance Fund really operated in that way. And during these times, we've modified our process. So we are communicating with people by phone and then providing, our volunteers are reviewing all the applications. So they are meeting together, and we are providing assistance, financial assistance weekly in the form of a check that is mailed to people. So what I would say though is if people contact, go to jfundspgh.org, there would be information, there is information about the Jewish Assistance Fund and all the other J-Funds partners, and there's links to, and the phone number for the Jewish Assistance Fund.
Wonderful. Thank you. J-Funds PGH is an incredible clearinghouse. Aviva, is that also the best way to reach out to Hebrew Free Loan?
It is. Going to jfundspgh.org can get you to any of the organizations. We're all linked right there. And we hope to have our application back up on our website within a week or two. So, just saying a prayer for some grants that will hopefully come through.
Absolutely.
Yes. And one of the things that's very, very powerful about actually all of the J-Funds organizations is that we are really a connection point between, we have volunteer community members that are very involved in the process of helping be supportive of what people are experiencing. And so people feel very heard. They feel a connection. They have the opportunity to hear more about other resources that they need. One of the things that we're trying to do is really make sure that in addition to, for example, Jewish Assistance Fund, it's bridge funding the COVID-19 financial assistance grants. It's to really help people with some of the pressing expenses that they have as they're sorting through unemployment and small business loans and the other kinds of the stimulus checks and those kinds of things, which we're hearing are understandably are taking a while. And then to also connect people to a variety of other resources. For example, JFCS through their website, and they have a hotline. And again, this information is on jfundspgh.org, but there's a variety of information that when people reach out to any of our organizations, we want them to know about the other resources within the Jewish community and the broader community to assist them with income, employment, and income resources, and especially with food, and to make sure that people have enough food and enough of the immediate and pressing things that they need for themselves and their families.
A question that came in from somebody who is listening to us on Facebook: are there income restrictions or a threshold above which somebody shouldn't seek out your services right now?
So our typical, at Hebrew Free Loan, in order to qualify to apply for a loan, typically your income needs to be $115,000 or less, which is a pretty high threshold. People who are making more than $115,000 typically can go to a bank or access capital in more traditional ways, but certainly if there are extenuating circumstances or if they have been turned down by another lending institution, we will absolutely consider an application from them, even if their income exceeds our maximum. Right now, it's kind of all out the window, because even people who have very robust incomes, if they're not getting a paycheck, it doesn't matter how much they would typically be making. So we are looking to help as many people as we can.
And the Jewish Assistance Fund doesn't have specific income requirements. However, our criteria are around the expenses are immediate and pressing. So if it's something planful, like you want to renovate your kitchen because you want to change the countertops, for example, that would not be something that would be, within what the Jewish Assistance Fund would fund. However, if there's the water heater breaks, you've got damage and other need for repairs, that would be within the range. And also, actually, both organizations, it's there's a geographic, pretty much Western Pennsylvania, though, is where both the J-Funds organizations serve. And also, the Jewish Assistance Fund is available to Jewish individuals and households through the Jewish community.
Thank you. So much of your programs rely on the strength of wonderful and dedicated volunteers. I imagine there are people who are listening to us today who are curious how they could be helpful to you in the work that you do. How could a volunteer get involved with your organization? Aviva, would you start us off?
Yeah, so that's absolutely true. We have a very robust board. It's a larger board than typical because it's a working board. So as you explained, our board members are actually our loan officers in some ways, and they meet with applicants every week by rotation and distribute the money and make the loan decisions. So we have an annual nominating process, and anyone who would be interested should find my email on our website and let me know their interest. And certainly people in the community have done that. We have former borrowers who are on our board, and we really are actually trying to increase the geographic diversity of our board because we are Squirrel Hill heavy. So any of you folks listening to this in the South Hills who have an interest, I really encourage you to please be in touch with me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Hebrew Free Loan's website. I would love to hear from you.
So the Jewish Assistance Fund also has a board of directors that we are always interested in having people from a variety of different parts of the community. And we do have South Hills board members, and we have a yearly process also, and so you can let us know, and we welcome new board members as we have people rotate off. One of the big areas that we all can use assistance with is spreading the word and supporting our work by our work is our work. It's our community's work. We're a reflection of the community, and we're able to do our work by the community providing the financial resources, and then we're that connection point to make sure that those financial resources get to people in the community. And also, word of mouth is one of the critical ways. And in these days, word of mouth within social media, but all the other aspects. And I know we could always use assistance. People have technical skills and interest and time in helping with the kind of community promotion of information. We would really welcome that. That's really helpful. We have a committee that works on that, but individually, that's something that people don't have to in any formal way. We ask everybody to help share when you hear what's going on in the lives of people in your home, in your neighborhood, at your workplace. To keep in mind and that there are resources that can help people out. So as we have a caring ear and a listening ear, we're able to help people as they're sorting through all the things that are going on for them.
Wonderful. I'm so grateful for both of your time this morning. I want to leave the final word to you. Are there other things that I should have asked you? Other things you want people to know? Things that are on your mind toward the end of our conversation?
So there are a few final comments I would share. One is that I learned from Rabbi Danny Schiff, that in the Jewish community, there are not two tiers of people, the tzedakah givers and the tzedakah receivers, that we are all one community and that we flow in and out of those roles fluidly. And so there may be times where someone is able to be a donor and then finds themselves needing to be a recipient, or at times someone who was at one time a recipient and now is in the position to be a donor. And so none of us are pigeonholed or pegged as one or the other. And I think that's a really important and beautiful message all the time, and especially now when so many people are finding themselves in uncertain territory, to know that it's definitely okay and encouraged in our tradition to ask for what you need, and also encouraged and a responsibility to give when you can. So, I would just say in closing that Hebrew Free Loan is really proud to be able to do this work at this time and offer something of value. We have one of our board members commented, who's been sitting on loan committees, that she has never encountered a group of borrowers who have been as grateful and appreciative for their loans. So it's a very, very sad and sobering message to hear from borrowers. But this is why Hebrew Free Loan and the other J-Funds organizations exist. And we are here for you and your neighbors and your friends and your colleagues at this time.
So I think of the work that we do as a way that the Jewish community wraps its arms around our members. And in hearing as Aviva was saying, in hearing the response of people who are reaching out for the assistance, there's a discomfort at first, and it is very humbling, and that's what we're hearing from them. And there's kind of like, I've never had to do this before. And through the beautiful community process that we have, people feel supported, nurtured, and encouraged. And we are able to do that because of the support that we get, all the J-Funds organizations get from the Pittsburgh Jewish community. And so when, I think that as we wonder in these times, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and we feel like there's all these things that we can't do, that we can't change, that we can't make better. And there are many things that we are able to do, and to think about ways that we are able to support people as their lives are in upheaval financially, and help make that connection. And each person listening holds it in their mind and tells somebody else about J-Funds, then we've really made an impact and help with that ripple effect. Our organizations have all been around for a long time, and we will continue to be around and be supportive, because we know that the grip that the pandemic has on all of our lives and on our financial lives is not going to go away very fast. And so as we take incremental steps forward, as things open up, as people piece back their lives, we ask everybody to continue to both support financially and through word of mouth the various J-Funds organizations, and include that in the aspect of caring for themselves and their community and their families. Thank you for this opportunity.
Cindy, Aviva, thank you. Thank you for
Thanks
your time.
for the opportunity.
Thank you for the sacred work you are doing. Stay strong, stay safe.